Alright, everyone, this is Tribal Gaming here. Gonna be doing kind of a little different format for you guys today than normal on my recordings for videos. So, what we're going to talk about today is belts, how to build them, and the metals to use on them. Not specifically for a superstar in general, but just an overall introduction, I guess you would say, a very deep introduction to belts. I do have on here some friends who's going to help out with this, with RB and Benji. Mortal may be joining us as well as we get started with this. So, guys, welcome to this. I guess you would call it a podcast at this point, right?
Pretty much.
So,
Yeah.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about belts in general, what they are, how they help your superstar, how they can, in my opinion, they make the difference between someone who can smack and someone who can't. Obviously, there's six different tiers of metals you can use on them, skill plates. I mean, different kind of belts. So we're going to deep dive into everything. So I guess the first thing we have to answer here, guys, is what's a belt? So a belt is something that you put on a superstar to make them hit harder. Now you do have to unlock them by using bits and all that, and we'll get into all that. This is just the very general knowledge. But once you fully unlock them, get them equipped, it can take a superstar from hitting 20 million up to hitting 300 million with the right setups and all that. This is not what this video is about. It's not how to set up a belt for each individual superstar. This is just a very general knowledge. So, the first thing you're going to look for on a belt is what kind of belt is it? Is it a legendary belt? Is it a ultimate belt? Is it just a basic belt? Because there are those too. And how do you differentiate them? So, a legendary belt is going to be able to put on there two different kinds of skill plates, and more than likely it's going to have some kind of percentages around it. So that's the best way I can describe a legendary belt. It's going to have an ultimate plate spot. It's going to have a skill, a basic skill plate spot, or what I like to call an offensive and defensive skill plates. It's also more than likely most ultimate belts are going to have some kind of percentages around it, whether that be move damage, affiliation, gem damage, gem defense, move defense. And they can go up to 150% on each category there, except for affiliation. Affiliation, it can have up to what we call a 4 times affiliation. And we'll get into all that as we go on. The second tier belt is what we call a legendary belt. Now that's only going to have room for your what I call your offensive skill plates. They may or may not have a percentage, and that highest percent, I believe, only goes up to, I want to say it's 50%. I could be wrong. RB, do you know right off the top of your head on the blue belt what the percentage
I
goes up
do
to?
not. I don't. I barely use those.
I know I barely
this
use
point.
them too, and especially at this point in the game, I barely use them. But I still have them. But I want to say it's 40 or 50% is what I want to
Yeah,
say.
I think the highest I've gotten is 40.
Yeah. And then you have your epic belts. Those are going to be, just green belts that you can just put medals on, and that's it. Those are very old belts, as you can see here from the stream or from the video. I only use them as affiliation belts at the end of the day. Anything else I'm not using them for because I'd rather sell them than hold on to them for anyone. And that would be my recommendation to everyone. Benji, do you feel the same way with those epic belts?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, if it doesn't have an affiliation part to it, I don't even use them anymore. So, what that brings us in. What are these boosts? So let's talk about it. The first one, obviously, just because it's on the screen right now, affiliation strap. Those are really good for to go on a coach or trainer that you use a lot. So I put mine on my MP trainers or trainers that I know I'm going to use a lot. So I use a lot of Striker Brett with his coach ability. You know, it just fits my lineup a little bit better. So I have an affiliation strap on him. Have an affiliation strap on Kofi Showboat because of the +4 yellow MP. It allows you to put that coach onto 2 different people, which when you're talking lineup builds, that goes a long way at the end of the day. You're not wasting time or coins trying to move them over every feud and then you forget to put one on there. So that is what an affiliation strap does. Then you have what we like to call what I like to call stun immunity. So stun immunity belts, it's exactly what they say. If that belt's equipped to a superstar, that person can't be stunned. So it's very useful against people who like to use stun moves. Again, knowing which belt you have on which person helps you out in the long-term game. So use it accordingly. If you know a superstar's coming out that use or in feud or require that uses a stun lock, put a stun immunity belt on them. Works every time. Because then they can't stun you. The same goes for what we call on a bleed immunity belt. Bleed immunity belts do the same thing. They sit there and allow you not to take bleed damage at the end of the day. So if you're going to get someone who does a lot of bleed damage, bleed immunity belt's the way to go. I keep a few of them just in case, but most of the time those are the ones I sell at the end of the day because I'm not getting anything really at the end of the day. I'd rather turn one of them and knock them out than have it. But if you're not in that place in your gameplay to be able to do that, keeping them and using them strategically is always a good idea. We do have a free-to-play player in here in RB who can probably explain a little bit more on how he uses them.
That I could.
Go ahead,
Or will
sir.
I?
Go ahead, sir.
I'll be out. I'm recording something right as he said that.
Oh, great. So Benji is somewhat of a free-to-play player. Maybe he can explain since he is not busy doing something else, even though it was his idea.
Hey, I had to record this, man.
So Benji, how do you use your bleed and stun immunity belts?
Because I'll be honest, I don't use them.
To be honest with you, yeah, I don't really use them. I just recently actually started learning how to use different belts because of being in this faction.
I feel like, you know, depending on the roster, they can work really good. If you don't have a lot of hitters, they can be used very strategically at the end of the day. That's just my thought.
I mean, absolutely.
You know, but again, they are strategic. You know what I mean? That's just my thought process behind it. They're very strategic.
It also, I think it depends a lot on who you face in most feuds. If you're facing a certain person and you're struggling with them, a lot of times, and let's say they do have a stun or a bleed, let's say you struggle against Ozzy, you're going to need it. If not, then, well, you don't.
Yeah.
It's just situational.
It's very situational to me. I feel like, you know, it's something that you could use if you're struggling. So that's how I keep in mind. Like I said, I'd like to have 1 or 2 around just to have them around at this point. More so on the fact that I feel like, you know, you just never know kind of thing. So I just feel like it's something that you always kind of need around. Maybe not to use, you may be switching it out, but I just feel like that's something you need. Then we go into other things. So we went over affiliations, we've gone over bleed and stun. So now let's talk about the rest of it. So with the ultimate straps, they can be anywhere from 3% to 150% as far as what you use. So there's 4 different kinds of boost on them when you start talking percentages. There's gem boost, move damage boost, 5 gem defensive boost, move defensive boost, and health and vitality increase, which is also a health increase boost. Again, they can range anywhere from 3% to 150%. Now, what does each of that mean? So gem boost, that means that all your gems are going to be boosted by whatever that shows. So on Rocker Sean, for example, you'll see right here that on the bonus down here, it has 150% gem damage. That means all the gems right off the bat before any medals or anything take place are going to increase by 150%. Move damage belt, same thing. It's going to increase the move damage by whatever percent. For example, I have a Legends Era Showboat belt that has 150% move damage. So all the moves, if I put that on someone, would increase by 150%. Then you have what I like to call, and I just got to find it here. I feel like I keep a lot of those belts. Those are keepers no matter what. If it's 150%, I keep it whether it's move or gem, because certain superstars I use do a lot of move damage. Certain superstars do a lot of gem damage. So I keep those belts. I don't know how you two feel, but that's how I feel on it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I do the exact same thing.
Then you have what I like to call vitality belts. So this one who I have on Showboat Fiend is 150% HP boost. Obviously, since Showboats have the highest HP in the game, doubling that is, makes it near impossible to beat them. And we can show you how to stack that up too. Then you have gem defense. So 100% gem defense belt, as you see here that I have in my Zombie Brett. That means right off the bat, gems are going to do 100% less damage. And again, there's different ways to build the belt once you have this, which we will go into during this video. But these are just kind of the basics need to know right now. The other one is a mood defensive belt, which I'm trying to find if I have one or not. That is the one I don't know if I have. Benji or B, have you guys ever run into one of those?
Ever run what?
Like a move defensive belt?
Never really have. I mean, I've never seen a need for them, especially with like the armor 2s and everything out.
I
Series and all that.
I definitely see the need for it. There's definitely a need for it at the end of the day. Because there are certain superstars where that would help. Rambling Rabbit, those kind of superstars, because you can really decrease the move. But I don't think. Yeah, I have one right here. Mine's at 30%. So it has the little square with the little shield inside of it. So I mean, it definitely works there in that sense. So that is the basics of what you have. Now,
I do have it on one person.
Yeah, I got my
Showa Oda from a long time ago.
Right.
I used it with him and his Protect Gems.
Now, when you get a belt, only one slot of the metal is going to be unlocked. The rest of it, you are going to have to unlock it or reinforce it, as they call it. So, for example, this is where we get in. So this is where you're really going to want to stack up strap parts, because you're going to want to be able to unlock a good belt when you have one. So as you see at the top here, I have 8.72 million strap parts. And it's going to be there, right here in the top right corner, or top left corner there. So right here where it has a little strap symbol with parts on it, that is what we call strap parts. I always say you want to keep at least 2 million of those at all times, just because you never know when you're going to get good belts, and you always want to have the ability to unlock it. So what you're going to do is, once you get a belt that you like, you see here on the screen how 5 slots are locked, only one's unlocked. In order to maximize a belt with metals, which we will go into during this podcast, how-to video, however you want to call this. I'm calling it more of a podcast how-to than just our traditional how-to belt or videos. You're going to want to reinforce it all the way. So once you click that, you're going to see here, it's going to tell you in the green box how many strap parts it costs to unlock one of the slots below. So one of the 5 chances, you got 1 in 5 chance to unlock one. So for the first one, it costs you 6,000 points, or metal straps, parts. So I'm going to hit that. So it's going to tell you to unlock the slot. That slot's your 3rd slot. So you're going to keep doing that. The second one's going to cost you 9,000. The third one's going to cost you 12,000. The fourth one's going to cost you 24,000. And the final one's going to cost you 48,000. And that's standard for every belt, whether it's an ultimate belt, whether it's a Legends belt, epic belt. It's just like an epic belt would only cost you 4 slots instead of 6 slots. A legendary belt would only cost you 5 slots. But I like to go ahead and have it all unlocked once I put it on a superstar. Benji, RB, I know you guys have probably ran into the not having enough parts to unlock a belt.
I actually have not, but that's because I save.
Yeah,
I do quite often.
I save pretty much as I can, which the best way to get the parts is obviously selling the metal that you do not need.
The belts that
and
you
then
do not
the
need.
titles,
Yeah.
the belts you don't need.
Yeah, we are not on metals yet. But yeah, that's how I do it, just because, and doing well in events, you're going to get a bunch of these parts, which, helps out. And as you progress in the game, you're obviously going to have more than what you need. And it's always good to have a healthy amount to be able to do this, so you don't run into that problem. Because if a belt's not fully unlocked, you're not fully unlocking the potential, because you can't pick which slot gets unlocked at the end of the day. And if you can't put the metals on a belt, there's really no sense in having that belt at the end of the day. That's just my personal opinion. So, that, I feel like that pretty much explains the basics of the straps. And now we're going to go into the more complicated, the metals. Another thing, well, before we get in that, another thing with belts, you can always move them around. They can go from male to female, so you are going to need the strap parts for that reason as well. Now, let's go into the metals. Now, I'm going to pull one up here that I've already got built here a little bit, but just to show you guys how it works. So, each belt needs to go on a certain superstar depending on how you run them. So I'm going to pick a very easy one here to kind of explain metals, and that would be Trickster Ozzy. it shows you the moveset that you have currently equipped on them. So I do run mine a little different. I run mine the red trap gem, the boost on the black gem, and then turn another black move that turns a 3x1 into choose a 3x1 into red gem, so I can recycle that trap move to put out there. So because of this, I have a 150% gem damage belt on them. So one of the first things I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to build a belt that only goes around black gems. So I'm looking through all the metals here. Okay? And before we get into that, each metal has different things unlocked that you do have to level up. So you see how the blue one here will only have 2 what we call substats unlocked? When you leveled that up, it'll actually unlock all 4 substats, while also increasing the max of the metal. So the first one is going to always be a move defense at a tier 6 metal, which are brand new. This is a Fury 3, as you can tell by the arrow up. It's always going to be maxed out at 150%. That's something that's always going to be maxed out at. Okay, but what I'm looking for when I do this is these substats right here. So all gem defense metals 15%, yellow move damage 16%, and you see the other 2 here that say new substat unlocked, and it shows you a level. Now, you can hit the max button really easy. If you have the strap pass that Scopely offers for $8 a month, they will take half off the instant max up. So normally where that would cost 1.36 million metal parts, you can get it for $860K. So we're going to go ahead and hit this instant button here just to see what it gives us. So you see how the yellow move went up to 27.67? That's because at every 3 levels, a substat does get upgraded unless you unlock one. So with this metal, it says purple gems damage do 16%, red moves damage do 16%. Now, that does not work very well on Aussie compared to this metal.
I'm going to pull Immortal real quick. I'll be back.
So with this metal, you can see here that black gems do 16% more damage. Red moves do 16% more damage. That matches very well with my Aussie, which is why this is the metal I would use on him. Just because of that. So I'm going to equip that. Now, anytime I want to move a metal over, it's going to cost you metal parts right there. So having metal parts is always a good idea, and we'll get into all that here in a little bit. So for this one, because it's a tier 6 metal to a tier 6 metal swap out, it does cost me $100K. Now I'm going to go to the second one. Again, I want to be able to run Fury 3s on here, just because if I match 4 of these as a set bonus, I get an additional 100% all gem damage. So, on this one, again, I'm going to look for the same thing. If I can find black gem damage, that's what I want to use. And I want to use it with whichever one's going to give me the highest gem damage. So, for example, either one of these 2 would work. So now I'm just looking at the substats and seeing what I can really find here. They're both about the same. So I'm just going to go ahead and equip this one on here just because I want that gem damage to increase. Okay. For the third one, this is where I want to look and see what I can use versus what I can't use. So I'm looking at it again, trying to find on the substats black gem damage since I don't have a black one. But since I do have a red one, I do use red moves. So all red moves are going to get 250% more damage. Since I use that red move twice, it helps. It's not the greatest. But because it's a Fury, I'm able to get away with it. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. Now, I do have this black gem at 60%, but it's not an armor. It's an armor 2 metal. It's not a Fury 3 metal. So, yeah, I gain 15% more, but I'm also losing 100%. So I definitely want to put that on there. Now, if you run into a situation where you don't have a metal that matches, just use whatever. You want to try and match that as much as humanly possible. So that increases now my gems by 250%. If we look at the strap stats here, and you can see that right below the belt here, you see that Ozzy, if you know how you're playing your cards, so Ozzy does 3x1 every time you break a trap gem into black gems. So I am boosting the black gem up 452% with these skill plates, which we will go over here in a minute. I'm also getting gem defense reduction of 144.37%. So if anyone wants to hit my Ozzy, they're losing 144.37% gem damage with 243% move damage. So I'm, in a sense, stopping their gem and move damage while also building up my black gem damage, which is what I want. My red moves are going to get a 266% damage on top of that, which really helps. So, Mr. Benji, I know we just went over a lot there. Break it down into maybe a little bit more dummy terms of what I'm saying.
What's that?
Just kind of break down a little more dummy terms over belts and, metals and, kind of why I did what I did there.
Each belt is pretty much, you want to design it for maybe one or two people, but that belt is fantastic. That's why the Den belt, how you built yours is exactly why when I'm doing faction feud or when I'm doing showdowns, I always look at who I'm fighting and see how much gem damage I'm losing on top of it. But that belt is phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, it is, and that's the thing. That's the thing. It's a belt when you build it is very specific to each superstar. Now I do have this skill plate. Whenever you activate 6 or more trap gems, increase black gem damage by 75%. Because I use that red move twice. Hey, that's 150% right there. And then I also have this plate time to get radical. Whenever you activate a black move, increase your black gems by 50%. Because I'm going to activate 2 black moves during this turn, that's another 100%. So I'm increasing even that 452 another 125%, which now puts it almost at 600% gem damage on the black gem. And what we're going to do here, I'm going to go into a match here just real quick to show you guys just what difference that Ozzy makes when he's ran with this belt. And then I'll show you what it's like when he doesn't have the belt, to show you really what a difference a belt does make at the end of the day. Now, I am going to put coaches and trainers on them. That's a whole different story at the end of the day as far as how that works. We're not going to go into that on this video. This is not the video for that. I know my Ozzy's about to hit. So I always hit the red move first with Ozzy. This is probably not the match to use him on because it's Sammy.
All right, I'm back with the milk.
Well, I think we're going to have to edit this part out. Because Sammy does not work against Ozzy. Sammy has a counter.
Oh, did you run against Z Sammy?
Yeah, I'm just doing I'm trying to go through the tours here, but I can edit this out, eventually. It'll take forever. I may not even edit it out, honestly. So, always look and see who you're going against. I'm not going to edit it out. It's too much work when you're talking what is going to be a 45 to an hour long video, and we're already 30 minutes in. So, this is what Ozzy will do with the belt if you build it right. Again, building a belt correctly is always the key. And you have to build it for how you play each superstar. So each of my black gems are hitting for over $1 million with this Ozzy build. So 86 million, without a gem belt, without someone running a gem. So that's how you run Ozzy with the belt. Now, that 86 million, if we were to take the belt off, I'm going to guess 30 million. What do you think, RB? Once I take the belt off. 30 million? Turn one?
I'm gonna say like 2022.
You're going to say 2022? I think it's significant enough. I don't think it'll be that low, but, I've been wrong before. So, definitely have been wrong before. Of course, the Cascade does come into play a little bit on this, too. 27.6 million. So that's a 60 million hit damage without having a belt on Ozzy there. Which is ridiculous when you start talking that kind of damage. 60 million. So building a belt is everything. My personal belief is I don't use vitality medals. I don't use any, the vitality medals. I really don't use anything less than a Fury, less than the tier 6 anymore. You can run a tier 5 medal, which is 40% when you combine two of them together. But I just feel like the tier 6 medals now are the way to go. And you can get those pretty regularly in the Armory loot gear, loot pulls. They're under the titles. So you can get those pretty easily nowadays. Versus, when they first came out, they were near impossible. So that's how I would build a move damage belt or gem damage. If I was going to move a move damage belt, the only thing I would change really is I would move all this to move damage, which is the box with the arrow up. And it's the same thing. I'm going to look at substats. I'm going to look at everything and make sure the medal is at level 15. Same with Armor 2 medals. Now, those can be put on anything, and those are going to wreak havoc as far as how much defense you're going to really do against a hit. which you see a lot of them in female feuds. And if you ever wonder why you hit for, when you normally hit for 90 million and it drops down to 20 million, there's a very good chance that belt is Armor 2 belt. And it can get very frustrating very quick because you're not going to kick out of a 7 million hit off that. And Mr. RB can kind of explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it's very useful in a lot of ways, especially in tours. You can really get away with it with let's say you're using a 5-star bronze. It can beat the 6-star gold at the end of the tour a lot of times with those medals.
I feel like you see a lot of it in feud too.
Oh yeah.
I feel like
and my best counters to armors is people with multis or people with high gem damage boost.
Yeah,
those are the best counters I have seen so far.
They are, but they still reduce a lot of damage too at the end of the day. So
it can be brutal, and I use it frequently on my JD McDonough.
Yeah, I mean it. So being able to build a set is where you go. Now, one of the things that I do when I'm looking at any belts or any medals is, like I said, I always sell anything less than takedown 2s, and I'm really getting to the point where I'm going to start selling takedown 2s and Fury 2s. Part of the reason being I just don't need them. But when you go in here and you're looking at everything, a simple sell button here and selecting them, that's how you're going to get your metal bits. So each level gives you a different value for metal bits, but I sell everything under takedown 2s and Fury 2s. And like I said, I'm even at the point where I'm starting to sell takedown 2s. Because I'm going to have to make up for all the metal bits that it costs me to move these metals around. You can move metals around depending on who you're using. I constantly change my metals around on male and female feuds. It's just something I do just because. But that's going to restock me 411k metal bits. You can also go into your locker here and go to rewards. And you can sell your belts or medals that you're not using. So I always look to see if any of these are tier 6. So I see I have one here, so I'm going to claim that one, obviously. I see I have another one here. I'm going to claim that one. Those are 2 I'm going to claim just because, they're going to help. But then I'm just going to select all, and I'm going to sell the rest. I don't really feel the need that I need those medals like everyone else thinks anymore. Same with the belts. I've already gone through my belts here. Figured out what I wanted to keep, what I didn't want to keep. And again, that's all based on, my game preference. But everyone's game preference is different. So I always just check them again just to make sure. That's one thing I would always recommend. But if you don't need them, I just sell them, get the parts back. And that's another way on kind of how I build my parts up. Anything else you guys would like to add to this? I feel like this was very condensed, and we still were at 40 minutes condensed.
I mean, it's not bad. Not too bad.
Was there anything basic else I missed? Again, this is, I'm so used to these that...
Did you cover the titles with nothing on them?
I basically...
And how you have to reinforce them?
Yeah.
To get the boost?
Yeah.
Okay.
I basically said sell those if they don't have a percentage on them. But yes, you still have to reinforce them and how you get all that. Yes.
Okay.
Becky,
Then,
you've been here the whole
we-
40. Was there anything else that I may have missed? I mean, you're kind of newer to belts. I've been doing it for a while here. Was there any other basics that I may have missed or anything? Earth to Benji.
I think
No, I
Benji's
can't think
gone.
of anything. No, I'm here.
Isaac.
I can't think of anything, no.
I mean, I can't either. I mean, like I said, belts. And I will say this. You're going to struggle at first on building a belt properly. I'm not perfect at it sometimes. Sometimes I have to mix and match just to make it work. And that's okay. At the end of the day, you want to have 4 medals on each belt. Again, I'm going to mix and match sometimes just because that's what I've got to do. It's still going to help at the end of the day. You're not going to get the bonus. You're not going to get the boost. But that still does help you make someone hit harder. If you can path it together with all Fury 3s, all take armor 2s, all takedown 3s, that obviously is the best way to go. And if the substats don't add up, they don't add up. But sometimes that 100% extra is better than what you can do piecing it together. But sometimes piecing it together better than that 100%. So you do have to look at it that way. And no matter how you look at it, you know, you're going to struggle at first. But the more you do it, the more time you spend in on it, the better you will get at building a belt. Don't be afraid to experiment either. That's a great way to go back through and do some tours and just experiment with each belt. You know, I don't like how this one hit. Okay, let me go change out this metal and go right back to it. Yes, you're going to cost yourself some metal bits, and that's okay. You can get more. They're not hard to come by. But if you don't experiment with it, you're never going to know what works for you. Anything else you guys would like to add?
No, I believe that covered it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right, guys. Well, this has been Tribal Gaming. Hope you guys enjoy the video. If you do, hit us up on our social medias. We're here on YouTube. We're also on TikTok and Twitch. Under TikTok, it's under the same thing as YouTube, Tribal Gaming. Under Twitch, it's under T24379452, where we go live 5 different times a week at different times. You can also join the Discord. You can hit me up at GodModeTC on Discord, all lowercase, and we'll get you into the Discord server where we do giveaways and have some fun. And, you know, you guys as the audience can give suggestions as far as what you guys want to see when we go live or videos like this. So, you know, make sure you're using that. Hit the comments, hit that like button, hit that follow and subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much.